Welcome builders to RuneScape DragonWilds. In this video, I will attempt to transform a boring box-shaped house into a much cozier, complex home to be proud of, and show you how you can too, using 10 tried and true steps, one at a time. My name is Hamitu, and this is the Joy of Building series, RuneScape DragonWilds edition. Okay, welcome to level 0. This is a basic square box. Well, it's actually a little rectangle. We've got 2 squares by 3 squares all the way around. This is as basic as it gets when it comes to building. It is as simple as laying down some foundational pieces, a little bit height off the ground, snapping them in to create your base. From there, adding some walls all the way around, and then taking your roof tiles, which can be found right here. I did medium roof tiles. The hip roofs, which are like outside frames, stack one in the corner, one above it, rotate, do the same over here, do the same above it, and then you get this kind of really generic, simple umbrella canopy all the way around. This is the basis we are going to start to transform our house from. Without further ado though, let's move on to level 1. Okay, level 1. The first step to adding a little bit of character to our basic box house is to add a little bit of shape. This is just the first of 10 steps, but I kept it very simple here. Just added a little extension off to one of the sides, kind of creating this little bit of an L-shaped situation. So go back inside, we've got our basic box house that we started with, and I just did a little offset. This is a second little thing that you can do when adding shape. Think about the inside as well as the outside, and if you can just add a little bit of layer like this inside your house, it goes a long way to making it feel more alive, more organic, more like a real house rather than just one flat surface area. And it really, without even building a full wall, it kind of creates the sense that there's a second room in here rather than it being one big open room. Just pop these windows open, and I kept that open for right now just because I'm not sure what we want to do with that. So we'll save that for a future step. Nothing here is a finishing touch. All we're doing is adding shape. So coming outside, kept this exactly as it is, that umbrella roof, which I'll probably change later, and we'll talk more about that in a future step. And on this side, we did a gable fronted roof. This is a very basic way to build roofs, and often this looks way nicer. As I get stuck on a rock there, it looks way nicer in many situations than this umbrella canopy. When you're starting to build, you might be really tempted to build those corners and then have it come up like that. But if you really want a nice, more dramatic effect, more traditional house effect, you can just build this gable fronted roof just by using the regular roof shapes. Go back to our roof here and just adding these guys right in the corner. Don't worry about cornering it off or curving it off, and you can leave that open in the front. But don't worry, this is not finished. We will be adding more features to our roof later on. Right now, we're just adding some shape, and you can see they're on the back of the house. Also, don't worry about the underneath here. We'll clean that up as well. Just getting some shape. And that is it for step 1. Let's move on to step 2. Okay. Level 2, stage 2, step 2, whatever we want to call this. What I'm considering here is adding heights. So we added shape in the last round by adding this little side extension here. Now I'm adding a little bit of height. And I'm considering, where do I want maybe a second floor to be in this house? And yeah, so I came up with that. I just threw it over the top of our main section. In order to accommodate this, I actually had to extend out this wall by, I don't know what we want to call this, a 2-meter square. If this is 1 meter, let's call this 2 meters. So bumped it out a little bit, and then I centered that over the top. And I thought about a staircase, and how are we going to get upstairs? So sometimes you think about, inside where you want a staircase, or maybe you just think about outside where you want your tower to be, and then you kind of work with it. Like what you want inside plays on what you want outside, and vice versa. In this case, I decided to put a little back tower here, and I built a little stairwell. And around that stairwell, I put a little fireplace. So this is simply just a 2-meter beams are all the way up, 2-meter walls on all sides, and a 45-degree staircase that just, this is a 20 or a 30-degree staircase here, and this is another 45-degree to get me to the height that I need to get over that downstairs living room section. And we got a nice little cozy bed chamber up here. I just kind of threw a couple windows here for right now. We'll worry about touching up things like windows in a future step, but I just wanted to get the height into your house. So really at this point, the full house is kind of taking shape. And I threw a second little campfire up here. Just a small thing to note, I learned while doing this that unlike Valheim, your campfires cannot have roofs over them if you want them to work. So this one up here works. Up above, it has no roof. Let's see if I can go into fly mode, ghost mode, whatever this is supposed to be called. Zip on up here. So here is the top of my chimney essentially. I just capped it off with some beams and kept it nice and open. Oh, looks like I actually have to edit this little beam right here. Can I delete this? Goodbye. I think I need to line that up a little bit better. Small little cosmetic thing. So in the back we have this little tower with the chimney on the top. I might adjust this a little bit. But then down on the first floor, because there is a floor beam up above this fireplace, you actually can't use it. So that's something I learned here. But anyway, just added some shape. Pop back out. And we got a little tower. And we're going to do some more to touch all this up in future steps. But right now, we've got essentially the shape of our house and a little bit of height for what's going to become a nice, cozy house. And that basically concludes level 2. Let's move on to level 3. A quick note, just going to share lessons I learned while experimenting and playing for the first time. When I thought to do this little fireplace here, you might notice it's really finicky where you can drop a fireplace. There's a hitbox around it, like in most of these games, and you can't get too close to a wall. So really I needed to drop the fireplace first on a bare floor and then try to build walls around it. But now, unlike Valheim, it looks like that's snapping. It's allowing me to snap over here, and it's allowing me to snap there. But, okay, well, that worked nice and cleanly. When I was fighting with it over here, it was not allowing me to snap. It was kind of like this right here. It was not allowing me to snap a wall where I wanted to, right behind it nice and cleanly. But what allowed me to be able to do it was by using the manual snapping mode, which on the bottom right hand of my screen, the third option down there says cycle mode snapping is bound to shift. I changed that keybind to be shift by default. I believe it was Y. But what that does is it allows you to go from moderate snapping points, you can see the little snapping points all around the screen, to heavy snapping points. It adds more snap points to all of the pieces and allows you to be like more precise but still snap in there, like halfway up the staircase, for instance, here. Or a third option is no snapping points. So now you're in manual mode where you can really place it more freely. And that's what I had to do with that fireplace there. So more free placement, and I would just like wait till it gets green and then I would place it, which makes it, you can eye it up so that it looks really, really close to perfect. And this game seems to be pretty good about that. Like if you're really zooming in on the detail there, you can notice that this one is a little bit taller, but that's, for everything that's not a roof bearing wall, that's going to be immaterial and you'll never notice. It'll not have any impact. But that's a little trip to get walls to work and cooperate with things like crafting tables. Okay, now that we've got some daylight on the front side of the house, we can showcase level 3, step 3. Add a dramatic front entrance. Add a front porch, front patio, whatever you want to call it. Just do something to spruce up the front staircase, the entrance into your house. And in this case, I do something that I like to do often in these games, which is I use a contrast. Because we got every other roof in this house is 45 degrees. For this one, I made a 30-degree roof, and that just adds a little bit of contrast compared to the other roof angles you see, such as this one up top there. And just add a little bit of detail. I experimented here with 3 stairs instead of 1, instead of 2, just right down the center going up. I angled a couple of these out just a tiny bit. I used our 30-degree stairs, which, never mind, I lied. I used our 45-degree stairs because it's kind of a high front porch. Angled one out, put one in the center, and then one out on the other side. Created these little banisters, which I will show you how to make real quick. All right, to demonstrate some small building techniques you can use to achieve the desired look that you're going for, I'm going to show you how I did these banisters on the staircase here. It starts with a simple 45-degree thin beam on the staircase going here, but now I wanted to create one that's a little bit higher. But you might ask, how do you do that? You can try manual snapping points, and that kind of works, but you can see like it's awkwardly sticking out of the big beam here. If you really want a perfectly parallel point, what you have to do is give yourself an additional snapping point. And I use this small wall to achieve that. So if I'm snapping this in right here, yeah, I want to snap it into essentially the first beam, and then put a second one on top, and then we can use that to give ourselves an additional snapping point. This is a long one. We don't want the long one. Where's the short one? That will give us the snapping point we're looking for to get that post right in there nice and good. And the last thing I wanted to do is just kind of add a little vertical post here. And for the life of me, I do not know why they did not include a short version of the vertical. You'll notice in this list you have 5 of everything. You have 5 of the thick long. You have 5 of the thick short. You have 5 of the thin longs. But then you only have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the short thin beams. You're missing a vertical. You have the 60, you have the 45, you have the 30, and you have the horizontal, but there's no short vertical. Short vertical would be perfect for here. So what you need to do is you can't use a snapping point at all like this. So I'm holding shift. For you, it might be Y. And you have to just point it at the ground. And when you point these at the ground, it seems to shove about 50% of it into the ground. So as long as your mouse cursor isn't up against a piece where it pops up like that, as long as you're on the ground, you're good. So you can get it somewhere in there, turn around, play with it till you're happy with it. You might need to delete your staircase in order to get it exactly how you want it. To me, that looks good enough. Yeah, there we go. That's good. So that's how I achieved that. The game's still early. I'm sure it will add a short version of this at some point in the future. But for now, these are the kinds of things you have to do to play around and get things to behave the way you want. Other than that, I just decorated a little bit more with our horizontal thin beams popping out. And I think I used the short versions of those. And with the medium, or with the advanced snap points in, these were able to snap somewhat in. So that just adds a little bit of depth and a little bit of angularity as you look at it from different sides. Make it just pop out just a little bit more impressive than a standard staircase and a flat patio, just right into the doors. And I kept this kind of low because we're going to do some work up there afterwards, and I couldn't raise this anymore or else it's going to start to interfere with my second floor. But for that, stay tuned for the next step. Okay, level 4, stage 4, complete. Overhang your roofs. I'll do a little demo in a sec, but just take a look at the finished product here. Yeah, this is a crucial step to making any house look really nice in just about any building game you play. Just add a little bit of an overhang to your roofs, adds a lot of depth to the appearance overall. Now, up here, I didn't change any overhang here, so you can kind of see by default, this game, when you snap the roofs right into a corner, it has a little bit of an overhang, so it adds that depth by default, but we can exaggerate that a little bit further and add even more, as unfortunately it's getting cloudy and misty and it's going to make it difficult to really show the effects of it. But I just wrapped this all the way around, and then I added these little thin poles at every interval, like I did in front of the staircase, to create a little bit of continuity. It's something you want to keep in mind when you're doing your builds. Like if you have a style, stick with that style for the whole build, and it kind of ties it all together. And I think that just exaggerates the depth a little bit further. Okay, so we're going to take the small roof, and we're just going to want to add it to the end like that. Really nice and easy, all the way up and all the way down. And I think we're going to want to hang it over like that as well. They make this really easy in RuneScape DragonWilds because they give you these different roofs of these different sizes. In some games, you're working with one big roof, so you're going to need to create a snap point, and you're going to need to like manually figure out how to get the roof exactly where you want. But in this game, it's really it's that easy to achieve a nice little overhang roof. Well, now let's fly up to the top using our Eye of Oculus power. I'm going to press T so I don't have anything building. And we can take a look at what we did up here. I did a slightly different kind of, and from this side it looks a little messy, but I did as best I could. This is a classic thing that you can do as well in many building games, is start angling with the different steepness beams out to the side, a little curved overhang. If you want to try to get fancy, this was my very first attempt, honestly. I didn't feel like fighting with it too much. I think you can probably achieve a much cleaner look if you really put a lot of effort into it. But that's the general effect. So now we have this really nice dramatic front with our 30-degree porch roof, our umbrella roof here, and now this steep umbrella or curved overhang roof. And then for the side of this top roof, I actually alternated. Instead of doing the 45-degree all the way down with the overhang, I did a 30-degree taper on the sides. And I think that ultimately looks pretty nice, particularly in combination with the slope here. So that was actually an accident, and sometimes it just works out that way. But you play around with things, experiment. That's the name of the game when you're messing with your own roof. Now I kept this umbrella roof for now, just as a little bit of a contrast from the other roofs we've got going on. Don't really like this side of the house much at all right now, so we're going to work with this in the future. We can add some stuff to make it to really spruce up its appearance. Now, you'll notice I changed what we did with this tower. I really didn't like that this was just another house, another same roof kind of popping out here. I wanted something to differentiate our stairwell tower from the rest of the building on the outside. So we have our chimney shaft here, and I just kind of flattened out the upstairs of it here. As it's raining right now, I think it's worth noting that in this game, I think the floorboards act as a roof. And I don't know that there's really any adverse, impact of getting rained on indoors in this game yet. So weather effects might not be something you really even have to worry about with your builds, unlike, say, Valheim. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind. You have a little bit more freedom with building outdoors. So yeah, I changed up this roof, overhang these guys, left these as is because we're going to be doing more to this side in a future step. Yeah, and I think here's where you see the effect of a roof overhang the best. This looks much improved from how it previously looked. And that is it for step 4, overhang your roofs. On to step 5. Okay, level 5, step 5. I want to get this while we got the lighting on this side. Add a porch. What nicer thing to add to our house than a little porch? And I was struggling with what to do in the back side here because on the back we were a little bit higher above the water. So I chose to throw a porch back here. And we might do a little bit more with this later, but this is what I came up with. A porch is a great way to add a little extra shape, a little more character. I promised myself I would not go wild with this build because after all, the point of this video is 10 easy things that anybody, I truly believe any of you guys can build this stuff. So just pick these features, start with your basic box, add these features one at a time to your house, wherever you choose. And this is how you're free to make choices in your own house. This is where I'm choosing for my house here. Yeah, add a porch. Pick a side and add it. So I did this one around the back. And let's actually get up on the roof. If I can find my 45-degree roof real quick. I've been using these as the most effective staircases to get up. My building wasn't tall enough for me to build a roof that I wanted. I wanted a 30-degree roof overhang. But if I was starting even from my roof here, just 2 of these medium pieces going down to the porch was just resulting in... see if I can even show it real quick. Oh, the snapping in this game is a little bit of a struggle for me compared to Valheim. In Valheim, I can just point this right at this and it would snap. Here, I actually I can only snap it on the side. But anyway, the point is, by time this extends far enough down here, it's somewhere like right here, and you can barely see out the water. It's a little bit too short for the character models. So really, I would have needed to build my whole house a little bit taller. And I encountered the same issue on my front porch too. So I had to improvise, and sometimes when you come up with little conundrums like this, when you run into these conundrums, that's what really forces you to, get out your tools and innovate. So I spent a lot of time testing a little. So I built a little outline with this porch with my horizontal beams down the bottom. I did nice fat posts at the bottom to be stabilizers. And then I did the skinny post to get up there. And I did my little railing banister framework around, which was nice and easy. But then I did that little kind of grid pattern that you see up on the roof. And that was pretty meticulous. One thing I will say, I'll just, because I like to add little tips here and there as I go about my videos. For these guys right here, when I decided, I just deleted a floorboard down there accidentally. When I decided I wanted to get these poking out, you might try to do this and you might realize like it's just not working. Like it's not letting you put this anywhere. So same tip as before. And what I found most handy so far in this game is the small wall. This is the smallest piece that I see. So if you can just get one and you can start using those as snap points, and then, I don't know, you can do it from above, you can do it from below, it doesn't really matter. Then you can go to your little guy and you can use these points to give you the necessary snap points to create your overhangs. That's something that I had to do for so many of these. Yeah, and I wasn't sure how these crisscross patterns up above look, but I liked a little bit more dimensionality to it, not just being completely flat. I couldn't get it to bend in a good way, so I left this side completely flat, just to kind of demonstrate what different effects you might be able to come up with out here. But yeah, it's just a little overhang porch. A lot of back decks, they don't have roofs over them, so it's cool to just have like a little sunscreen. And that's what I decided to go with for this one. And yeah, level 5, add a porch, fix your porch. Moving on. Level 6. Just like we added a porch, we can add other features such as this balcony that you see here. Add a balcony. When in doubt, if you have a multi-story house, something up height, find a wall, pop it open, add a balcony. I chose to do this right in the front because we really want to spruce up our front here and make this look as nice and dramatic as possible. So I threw a balcony up there over our roof. And let's run up top and take a look at it real quick. Coming up through our bedroom and outside, here is our balcony. I opted for a circular balcony because I thought that would look cool. We've got a lot of right angles everywhere else here, so let's just vary it up. And you know what? This wasn't hard to achieve at all. I'm sticking with stuff that really is beginners. Maybe you're afraid to try circles, but this was honestly as simple as through this door frame here, it's really 6 squares across. So it started with just identifying the center point, dragging it out to here, finding the center piece here, and then just 2 squares, 2 rotations, 2 squares, 2 rotations, 2 squares, 2 rotations, all the way around, and you got a nice little circle. You could do 1 rotation all the way around, which I tried initially, but it ended up on going a little too wide. And I thought this worked nicely. It also, it's nice and easy for the floors because you have to then take your floor tiles. You could do small, actually, if you're doing small ones. But you know what? What's really weird? These small floor tiles look a little bit bigger than these small walls. I think they are the same size. They overlap a little bit. But anyway, I used the medium. So you just use a medium tile, 2 rotations, and you just use the walls that you already snapped as your snapping points. And then you got a nice little sort of circular balcony. I threw a door frame in here. I left the sides open as windows, and then I just added a little bit of detailing. This is the kind of stuff that you can do to your own house to just make things pop a little bit more. So I added some of these horizontal beams across. The door frame, you will notice, actually comes with some beams like that. So I just kind of leaned into it a little bit and added a little bit more, including some manual ones here, where I added a little windowsill, 3 beams wide, just to give it a little bit of definition and character. Threw a light up there, which I thought would look really nice if it's reflecting off of that dramatic overhang roof that we already built earlier. And then all together, that's what we got. Yeah, add a balcony, particularly from like higher up places in your builds. And that can really turn a particular section into like an eye-catching feature that really goes a long way to making your house look just that much nicer. All right, that's it for level 6. Onward to level 7. Before we continue, I'm going to actually do something a little different and maybe a little strange. I'm going to take a moment to talk about some elements of my build that I'm really not liking. And the reason I'm going to do this is twofold. First, I hope that by sharing from my perspective as a builder, if you see some of my other videos and you see Hamatu and you're like, oh wow, he's actually a pretty decent builder, but you see that I also struggle and face challenges and moments where I'm like really unsure about how a build is turning out, maybe that can, you know, serve to inspire or encourage, or maybe like help you overcome some of your own struggles and moments of demoralization when you're building. But second, I'm hoping that maybe showing some of the things that I'm looking at that I'm liking or not liking can help provide some insight into like the kinds of things that, you know, when you have your builder's hat on, the useful stuff to keep in mind of what really helps make a build look good or bad. So around this side here, you can see quite nicely, like, I'm quite satisfied with the front of this. We've got a lot of details, a lot of depth. It looks pretty dramatic, striking. You know, you've got the curved balcony, the overhang roof, the contrasting angles, and just a lot of depth, and it's illuminated really nicely. But if I come around this side, this looks hideous to me. There's not much to it that I'm even happy about. I have a few ideas of what I'm going to do to spruce it up, and that's coming in the following steps. A little spoiler alert, I'd like to add some windows, windows with dimensionality like bay windows, add some dormers to the roof, and maybe add an extension to the house. So we'll see how that all manifests. But if we come up into our flying mode, I can just point out a few more things more specifically. I don't like that these roofs are sloping in the same direction. And I was considering building an extension off of here that's also going to slope in the same direction. All 3 of those together are just not going to look very good. It looks nice when you have roofs that contrast each other. So here we have an umbrella coming down. Here we have the gable fronts, and they're perpendicular to each other rather than all going in the same exact direction. I don't like that there's just a giant triangle up there, and then there's just another giant triangle here. As far as shape goes, there's not a lot of livelihood or vibrancy to it. And even this tower is just one big blocky triangle. So we might want to try to do some stuff to add some shape to the tower. Maybe make a lower section skinnier, and then like I kind of did up here and made the high section skinnier, just to add a little bit of contrast. So these are the things that are bothering me. It's a very, very boring side to look at. And at the end of the day, I want every angle of my house to look good. I want the whole thing to look as nice as this front is looking. And we will touch this part up as well later. But this side, just want to let you guys know, like, you know, it's okay to not be totally happy and satisfied with your build. Part of the build process is recognizing parts that you're not liking so much, and then thinking about what you can do to improve those parts. So that's my little side note. Without further ado, let's just continue on to step 7. Level 7, add an extension. Now there may come a time during your build process, or even though early on you added shape and then you added some height, you might find that, part of your building still needs a little bit of love. And that was for me this side here, which I talked about a moment ago. And the first step that you can take to help fix up that side and make it look as nice as the rest of your house, as like the front I've got going on here, is add an extension. That'll give some character and some life to a side that looks a little too blocky or a little too boring. And in this case, I opted to add a rounded extension. This is an octagon pattern. RuneScape DragonWilds has a similar rotational axis as Valheim, and I think it's important to use this because unlike a game like, say, Enshrouded, where you're stuck building on 90 degrees, all you can do is build squares. We have the freedom in this game to actually have a whole bunch of rotations, and there's actually an extra rotation point that Valheim doesn't have in here. Valheim operates on 16. It looks like there's 8 more in this game. There might be 24 rotation points. So I started on one plane, and then it was actually 3 rotations to get to the next, 3 rotations to get to the next. So what did I do to my extension here in order to add some shape? I started with that octagon pattern that I just talked about, and then I used a little wall. This has become my best friend in this game so far, so I encourage you guys to make use of this square. And I use this to pop out 1 meter, and then one meter on the side. Same thing there. Rotate, 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 do the same thing again, do the same thing again. And that gave me like this kind of added dimension all the way around. So we have these little inlets on every little side, and then I threw chests, and I've been using these 2 chests here along the outside, and you can access these chests from both sides, which is kind of nice and convenient. And then to get up to the top, if I build my little roof, not the medium, we want the big guy, so we can get up there and hop up. Really, you're able to just take a medium roof and snap it. So once I popped out, I added a bar across the top, if I could find. And I did that along all sides, and then you can come up to the top. And I popped medium roof in, medium roof, and then I centered a medium roof here. And yeah, this took I'm not gonna lie, this took, in this game, quite a bit of playing around with. The roofs didn't blend as cleanly as maybe I would have liked. It was a bit of a struggle, but you can play around with it and you can actually get it to work. So I have 2 medium roofs here from the base bar, and then I actually come in one on both sides so that there's just another basically medium one centered. And then I did the same thing here, and I was able to cap it off nice and evenly up top. And just to kind of try to blend, I used these single roof tiles along the top. And then I was left with little gaps where you see these ridges. And the way I placed those ridges that I think ended up on looking best is manually from underneath here. This is just me kind of trying to explain the building techniques I use for these. Again, this is a brand new game. People are going to discover all new ways to do things. And this is how I ended up on doing it. I held shift again, or press shift, and I ended up on just kind of manually placing it. And I try to inset it downward as much as possible, so because originally when I placed them, they were really protruding through the roof, and they didn't look so nice. But yeah. Ultimately, I'm quite happy with how it turned out, and I think this is going a long way to being a solid first step to making this side of the house look so much better. So yeah, level 7, add an extension. Could be another extension like you added shape early on, where I could have like a staircase coming down from inside here, and it can be like an indoor extension, or in this case, I decided just to make an outside extension, and I made it a little workshop. This way our woodworker can craft out here with plenty of air ventilation and a nice view of the lake to boot. Level 7, add an extension. Level 8, and it is a big one. Add windows. It's a big one because there's going to be a lot of surfaces that I've added windows to that we want to go over. And I saved this step as one of the later steps precisely because we wanted to figure out what the whole shape of our house is looking like before we can determine where windows might be needed. I could have added windows much earlier, but then I might have, for example, if I added a window over here and then I built this extension, I would have had to delete that window or change it up a bit. So let's just pick a side and start talking about it. First place, I added a window. Really, since we've been focused on trying to improve the look of this side of the house, is in the upstairs. I added this little bay window pop out, and I'm taking the opportunity with a lot of the windows to not just open up and add, a viewable location from what's in the bedroom, but to actually add a little bit of extra dimensionality. Try to always add layers and depth. That is the name of the game when it comes to making your houses look super cozy and nice, and bay windows are one of the best way you can do that with the windows. In order to achieve that up here, as you can see, I kind of popped out by one square wall, and then I did pretty harsh, I think this is 4 turns, and did 2, and then I did 2, and I did 2, and another pop out over here. Yeah, pretty much as simple as that. Long skinny pole, just to kind of create nice big openness, and just a couple medium or small roofs. It looks like 1, 2, 3 small roofs, followed by a third in the middle, and then a medium, and then 3 small roofs and a third. That was this bay window. If we come around this side, I did a similar bay window down here, and I can show a little bit before and after photos as we go through this as well. I took some screenshots just for demonstration purposes. Same concept, but look at how like the depth and the added dimension that adds to this side. And I'm just experimenting with different things. Again, this is just the starting materials in this game. This is all just ashwood, and I'm just playing around with different styles and different things. So as we come to this side, I tried a completely different style. I used the ash logs essentially to create a little bit of a log cabin effect. And I'll take a cut, and I'll go through and show you guys how to do that. Right. And to achieve this cabin design, let me show you the technique real quick. You use your thick beams, your thick horizontal beams, of course. Now when you toggle the snap points, cycle snapping mode, you want to go into advanced snapping. Advanced snapping is going to give you this grid where every other row you can snap one in perfectly. And to get the in-between ones, let's go inside. It might be a little bit easier in here. And for these, you want to just go into manual snapping mode, line them up as best you can, try to make them even in the middle. And there you go. It's not perfect. I know I keep making Valheim comparisons. In Valheim, you can just take your logs, toss them on the ground, and then they will automatically snap on top perfectly. Doesn't seem to be the case in this game, so you have to do a little bit of manual finagling, but this is, I was able to come up with a pretty good effect. And let's be honest, in real life, if you're going to be trying to carve out a cabin, especially in like medieval days, every log is not going to be milled perfectly, and they're not going to be set on top of each other perfectly either. So a little bit of imperfection like this actually looks kind of realistic. So let's just call that a cool feature. So anyway, that's that technique. And I just played around up here in the upper level with this kind of fan pattern. Since we have those cool 60-degree beams, which is something that I've never got to use in any building game before, so I wanted to see how those look. So I just did the 30 degree and the 60 degrees. I didn't go with the 45 because that was like adding too much clutter in the middle. But I created this little fan pattern, evened it out. I had those poles from our previous overhang, and then overall, I think I enjoy, like, this adds a nice little variety and a flavor to the side. That's what you can achieve with your windows. It's just, you can really dress it up and give it some personality rather than just a big flat surface. Coming along on the inside here in our porch, I have that door, and I built the door out to the deck nice and neat with a 45-degree banister essentially. And I just popped out 2 holes in this one. And what I did was I used the one block, the 1 meter squares, which has been my favorite piece to use so far. And I've kind of just pop them out these different directions to create the illusion of shutters, as if you can close them. Of course you can't, they're fixed, but it makes it look like there's the ability to close the shutters and, you know, shore up the windows. And then I did the same thing with them at the bottom to kind of create this little windowsill. And I did the same thing on the other side, and I left these shutters closed just for kind of demonstration purposes. All right, and I'll just zoom out just so you can see what the full porch looks like in the nice daylight. And then last but not least, I completely transformed this stairwell tower. And let's get the shape and the look, how it looks from this angle over here. Changed up a lot of things to give it more personality and basically try to eliminate the blockiness that I was talking about in the previous, in my little interlude. I was really unhappy with how that looked. So what did I do? Let's just go through some of those things. I made it skinnier, shorter and skinnier on the bottom here. Actually, it looks like I've got to do the same thing I did back there right here, which I'll take care of after I'm done recording this. And then branched it out. So I made the tower become a bit of an overhang, which is something that adds some layers in depth as well, just naturally. And then as part of the stairwell itself, I popped out all of the windows bay window style, so that actually I can cancel. I am inside. And this is now the experience of walking down the stairwell. You have the nice big open areas. It really opens up the space and makes it feel a lot less cramped. And you just kind of get a cool view as you're going up. And put the little guardrails, banisters in there, just for natural effect. Go back out so you can see the final view one more time. It took a fair bit of finagling, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And that's the name of the game. You just experiment, keep trying. There's a lot of demolition I had to do for this, and iterating, and a lot of things I tried didn't work very well. But in the end, I like this result way more than what it was before. Basically, you have these two sides with a nice little umbrella roof at a nice even 90-degree angle. Exact mirror side here. And then I did a gable front on this side over the bay window pop out, which is just a 2 meter and a 2 meter pop out. And then I kind of connected both, added a little floor, used those 60 degrees again up here for added detail. And I lowered my chimney a little bit, I didn't like it jutting out of the roof a little bit too high. And yeah, that's the kind of profile shot we got right now. I'm gonna, in the next step, sneak peek, I'm gonna be doing a little something up here and a little something up here. But that is it for level 8 windows. Moving on to level 9. Level 9. One of my absolute favorite steps and one of the easiest things you can do to dress up your house is build some dormers, which are essentially windows that pop out of your roof. So what kind of dormers did I build in this house? What kind of dormers can you build in your house? Starting up at the top here, our first stop, are these two little tiny wall dormers. And these are gable fronted, just like our gable fronted roofs, meaning you see the curve. And all you have to do to build these guys, actually I'll do a little demo for you guys in a sec. All right, and just to demonstrate real quick how to make one of these little wall dormers, these cute little guys, they're the easiest thing you'll ever be able to build in order to decorate your house. Just come in here, you go to in this case I'm using a medium. You can do a larger one if you wanted a much bigger dormer, but I'm just doing two small guys, inverted, medium, wall support, and it's literally just boom, boom. Well, got to angle them in the correct direction. Boom, boom. And then on top of that, I'm choosing to use the 30-degree small roofs. And as long as they're out by 1 or 2 meters, they line up nice and perfect. You can add a little roof overhang if you want. You don't have to go crazy. In this case, I don't know if I want them. So we'll just leave it be. And as a finishing touch, manual snapping, and I'm just adding a wooden log. Ideally, I'd like a piece that was a little flatter. I don't know if you'd put a log right here. And it looks like as soon as I unlock these materials, I'm gonna get this if I can make some oak. I'd probably use something like oak. It looks like these might be a brighter color, which will go a long way to adding some material contrast. Right now, all of our wood's like the same color, so that's gonna limit the visual effect that we can achieve with our building. But we're just trying to make do with what we got. This is a starter house, my very first starter house. So here you go. That is a little wall dormer. Coming around the porch side, while we have some nice lighting over here, is same concept. I'm just trying to show some variety, just to show what you can do. This is also a wall dormer, but I just made it bigger, which is essentially 1.5 of those inverted wall pieces. Same piece. Go to your wall, find your medium, and I put one down, and then I put another one halfway up. And then I just built a slightly larger roof, 30 degrees still, to add some contrast. And I stuck out some thick beams and did a little crisscross at the top, kind of reminiscent of what, the piece that you get in Valheim. And then just put a little skinny post in the center and some vertical walls down here. I like adding lighting in all of my dormers because I think that helps kind of exaggerate and accentuate the piece that you built there. Otherwise, they kind of hide in the shadows, in this game at least, if the lighting's not clearly on their side and you don't get to see them as nicely. And then coming up to this one, I built what is called a shed dormer, and this is named as such because it kind of has like this sloping little shed roof over top, and the roof goes in the same direction as the roof it's built into. And the key feature, in order to obtain some space to kind of create this window, the dormer roof needs to be a lower grade slope than the roof it's built into. So in this case, we have a 30-degree slope dormer roof and a 45-degree slope primary roof. When I just built the 30 degrees all the way down, there really was not much of a gap. So what I ended up on having to do was I cut the roof a little short, and I built this little front face here using floorboards, and I just lined it out with a thin pole at the bottom. And I think by doing that allowed me to get enough space to really kind of turn it into a window. And, yeah, I thought this one actually looks perfect on this side. Nice and simple, super easy. You can literally build these in 2 minutes. And coming around this side to return to our previously problematic side, now you see how much character we've got on the side. Actually, it looks a little crazy. Whatever. We're having fun. Go wild. I'm just kind of dousing every square inch, every surface with some kind of feature to liven it up. This is the polar opposite of what we had going before. Maybe I'll put that before picture back up. But my finishing touches here is I just added 2 more of those little wall dormers, and I just to try to play around with some of the pieces and add some variety. This is what I encourage all of you builders to do. You might notice here I overhung one additional roof piece compared to these guys here where I didn't have any overhang at all. Just kept them nice and flat. But up here I attempted to do an overhang, and I curved them out one. So instead of having them go directly in the same direction, I just did one rotation to curve it outward a little bit. And I did that on this side, did that on this side, and then I just capped it with a little pole and another thick log on the bottom. And the pole was, took a little bit of finagling. What I needed to do to achieve this was a little bit more manual placing. I had one manual place here, and then holding my shift again, I put another one right here like this, and then I used that to become a snap point to add the 30-degree version of it. And then I knocked it out. My little helper piece. Oh, now I have to go up and retrieve this wood. But that is it. Now that it's nighttime, we can wrap this one up. This is level 9 complete. All of our dormers have been added. Moving on to the final step, level 10. And finally, level 10. Last but certainly not least, do a little outdoor landscaping, decorating. Add some stuff to dress up the space around your house, because your house is just part of the picture, part of the scene that you're trying to create. You want to try to integrate your house into the land around it. So yeah, let's just take a quick look at what I did here. Added some fences lined with the road, just to kind of like sketch in the little space of the area. Have them open up into the entrance of your house to kind of like lead you to it. And I added an outdoor camp over on this side. I'm gonna pick up my dried berries. Just created a little matrix with some of the 45-degree beams, and I got a 60-degree beam in the back there, right center down the top. Nice little outdoor camp space. Just thinking about limited things that you can kind of add, to your space around the house to make it feel like part of the environment. These fences are pretty, I tried to get creative with them, play around, see what you guys come up with. Tons of options, and I'm sure there's so many more as we get in, as you get more materials unlocked. So I just use the skinny logs, and I use these little roof wall pieces essentially to just create a little triangular patterns. Correct use of the word triangle this time. Yeah, and put the thick beams at all the peaks of the triangles, and I did the thin beams at the valleys. And on the corners, created some custom little lantern posts. Ideally, I'd like to have like a hanging brazier or something of that sort. I think that would look really nice on something like this, but the standing sconces are pretty nice as well. Just a thick beam, a thin beam on top all the way up, and 5 smaller, shorter beams, horizontal beams, and then a 45-degree, just to kind of give it that, this way it looks like it's a stable structure. Can't really run. All right. And I did the same thing down this end, just to make it look like, just to go with the road and give it some shape. If we come around the back porch area, I just added a little dock. We're right on the water. This is a water house, so, I went with the lay of the porch that I had, this nice little corner entrance, and a dock. Put a weapon rack here. Just very limited in my decorations, but I thought that could serve a function on the dock. Maybe have your fishing poles racked up there. And just created a little dock floor pattern to get up to our gazebos, where the whole space connects and flows. That's kind of the name of the game. And I'll take you inside. I didn't do any severe decorating or anything like that. I'm very limited in the clutter that you have, but that's what you want to do. You want to dress up with the clutter. You want to add crates. Here's our decorations, wooden, bins and piles and whatnot. So I just threw a couple of those in the corner. I only have a couple crafting things unlocked right now, so I threw the spinning wheel there. I have a cooking pot right here. Figured this might make a good little kitchen area. Turns out I just learned at this very moment that you cannot have these covered by a roof. These must be outdoors, so just like our fireplace here. But my thought was to make a little kitchen, if you have like a little table or something there. And this could be more of a living room. And I built a little rafter above the windows here with some storage and bins. And then coming up to the bedroom, I just built a little loft for the bed. This way the bed can sit nice and cozy in this bay window. Stay cool on those warm nights. And I threw some artwork on the wall across. So, great substitute for a TV. Anyway, that about concludes it. Hop off as the sun is setting. We got these the crazy bloom action in this game with the lights. Looks a little wild. But yeah, that is RuneScape DragonWilds 10 steps that you can follow to turn your basic box into your very own nice house. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please like and subscribe. That goes such a long way to helping my channel grow. And I'm at the phase now where I really am trying to grow my channel. I'm loving checking out these different building games. And yeah, just kind of sharing and learning and, inspiring and building together. It's a lot of fun. Stay tuned as, for part 2, I guess, as we journey deeper into the wilds and unlock some new materials and then actually are able to build some nice stuff. But until then, see you next time and happy building.